receive in specific areas. We feel really good about that to the extent that it provides another level of transparency to our customers. So with the great success we've had at clearing the 700 megahertz spectrum that we purchased, we've been able to build a plan that will get us to 300 million pops over the course of the year, roughly tripling our LTE coverage over the course of 2015. We're really happy about this, and again, 3 years ago, who would have thought little T-Mobile would have a map that looks at, yeah, take a picture. It's a heck of a lot like some of our competitors' maps that we've seen over the years in advertising. And by the way, we're not going to stop there. So now let's talk a little bit about industry implications. What to expect? You know, as Chris mentioned earlier, you should expect to continue to see the network grow as we strive to meet customer needs. We look forward to participating in the broadcast auctions next year to fill out our national footprint, and as we're beginning to see great results from our 700 megahertz markets. We continue to look forward to providing coverage where our customers have come to expect it. And from a capacity perspective, we'll continue to grow, and we will need both spectrum, radios, and antennas to support customers' thirst for mobile broadband, and particularly video. The impact of further miniaturization of increasingly smarter radios will impact how we think about deploying capacity. You heard Chris talk about small cells, and that is absolutely what's going to happen. Limited spectrum is also going to cause carriers to reuse the spectrum with sites having smaller and smaller cell radii. In terms of innovation, I talked a little bit about VoLTE and our delivering Wi-Fi calling on the iOS platform. You shouldn't expect that we'll stop, because we just simply won't stop. Now, for those that you know me, I always have something I want, right? So when I think about the infrastructure industry, there are some stark similarities to that of mobile network operators. There's a disproportionate share of revenues concentrated with a limited number of suppliers. That said, I'd like to see the industry develop fresh and innovative ways to deliver infrastructure at lower operating costs as we build out the networks. Back in 2008, we determined that we needed to move to our cell sites from copper TDM circuits to fiber in order to support HSPA Plus or a 4G network at the time. Over the last 4 to 6 years, we've actually seen a decrease in what it costs to operate each cell site from a transport perspective. I wish I could say the same about our rental expense. It's not declined. So therefore, my ask is that the industry find creative ways to do what we were able to do in our transition to fiber. And with that, I ask, will you be the Un-carrier of the infrastructure industry? There's a big opportunity as we continue to grow the networks for innovative ways of doing things differently. And I'd ask this group, and there's a lot of smart people in the room, to think differently about what we're doing and find creative ways to provide provide antenna locations at a much lower cost. With that, I'd be open to answering a few questions. Here is a mic coming for you right now.
Quick question. You had talked about densification of small cells just a few moments ago.
Sure.
From a technological perspective, we've still got a lot of problems with cell edge communications. Basically, the degradation of signal, loading, unable to drop signals, all that. Is there anything out there that you guys are doing to fix that?
Well, sure. You know, I think the low band frequencies are going to help tremendously, at least for us. You know, we've got low band across about 70%, 72% of our customer base today, and we're, again, optimistic that we'll see a broadcast auction next year, which will give us the ability to fill out that portfolio of low band spectrum. Second thing I'd point to is MIMO, and the increasing number of antennas in both the network and the device that will provide and help to solve some of those cell edge problems. And then, as you pointed out, we'll continue to densify the networks, and that increased density will provide greater signal throughout the course of the network. So I think through all three of those things, we'll see, over time, continued improvement in the quality of signal across the network. Any more? There's one back in the back there.
Can you show us a little more about your plans with small cells and NAS? You mentioned the hard-carry approach for the infrastructure developers. Can you tell us a little more about T-Mobile's future with small cells?
Yeah, sure, I'd be happy to. It's early days for us. We're just really lighting up the spectrum that we received from AT&T in the breakup, as well as we've migrated customers off of the AWS frequencies onto the PCS frequencies. That's created a lot of headroom for us. So, frankly, if I go back 2 or 3 years ago, I'd hoped that the small cell problem had been solved, and I've discovered recently it really hasn't been. I think it's still early days. I'd harken back to some of the things Chris said. I think there's a lot of work to do in the small cell area in terms of finding locations that meet a capacity requirement that you can actually acquire the rights while at the same time obtaining a transport medium, whether that be wireless or wired, as well as some of the early things that we've done. We've had to drag power 2 or 3 city blocks in order to be able to get a small cell to work, and that's not a sustainable model. So we've got, as an industry, figure out a different way of playing the game, because the way in which we played the game in the macro cell environment won't work and is not sustainable. One up front here. Oh, there we go, back to back.
What's your view on LTE broadcast and LTE non-licensed spectrum?
I'm sorry, say again?
Your view on plans on LTE broadcast as well as LTE non-licensed spectrum?
So I'll broadcast, we don't have a plan for that today. In terms of unlicensed spectrum, you've no doubt seen our announcements relative to license-assisted access using the 5 gig band, and we're actually very, very optimistic that will help to solve and provide a big capacity pipe for our customers in the coming years. But it'll mostly be in resident, in home, or in more densely populated urban areas.
What do you think it would take to persuade tower owners to reduce their rental rates?
That's a great question. Does anybody have an answer for that? I don't have a great answer for that, but I think that we've got to find a way to be much more creative in the next wave of build, so that operators aren't faced with the same ever-increasing and ever-escalating rate structure. There's nothing else in our business, frankly, that operates the same way as the rent stream, from a cost structure perspective. I'll take one more.
Hi, Dave.
Hi.
I was interested in knowing how you may be addressing network security. One of the key big issues right now is cybersecurity, security of networks and phones, and how is T-Mobile addressing that?
Yeah, we have a chief security officer that spends many waking nights thinking about security. We spent a lot of time, a lot of energy focused on the security aspects and protecting our customers' information. And Bill Bonney, our chief security officer, he and his team are hard at work every day working through that. Thank you.